Hello and welcome to another insightful edition of Investment Acorns, our exclusive series featuring thought leadership from fund managers at White Oak Capital Asset Management Limited. Joining me today is Manuj Jain. He's Head of Product and Strategies at White Oak Capital AMC. Welcome, Manuj.
Thank you so much.
Great to have you here.
Same here.
Now, Manuj has shared some interesting thoughts in the October issues of Mutual Fund Insight as well as Wealth Insight, and we'll be diving into each of those columns today. So Manuj, starting with your column in Mutual Fund Insight, where you have, you raised the ever popular question, is it better to start an SIP at the top or bottom of the market? So it's a fact that many investors struggle with the market timing. What would be your advice to someone who's starting out now, because predicting the tops and bottoms of the market is quite an impossible task?
Right. So see, basically, this is an obvious question, and obviously everybody tries to invest at a time which they believe is the best time to invest. And obviously the common belief is that if you are starting your investment journey, it is better you invest when it is at the bottom. So first of all, let's accept this fact that nobody can predict the exact bottom or the peak. You can maybe predict it once in a while, but you cannot predict it consistently.
Right.
But in that study itself, we did an analysis of last 27 years of data of Sensex, which is a popular equity market index, that even if you can predict it, okay, if you have some magical power and you can predict the exact top or the bottom and you are about to start your SIP. So this study is basically telling you, if you are a genuine long-term SIP investor, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
In fact, the sooner you start, the better it is. Whether you are starting at the top or bottom, it has nothing to do with it. You have to start immediately and you have to run that SIP for very long term. The definition of long term can be 10 year, 15 year, depending on your financial goals. So if you are a genuine long term SIP investor, you should not be worried about timing the market, even if you can time the market.
All right, now your analysis also shows that it does not matter in the long term whether you're starting out at the bottom or at the peak of the market, because over time the return difference it's not much or probably negligible. So how important is staying invested for the long term?
So let me give you one example. In that study, we have taken all the market cycles where market has corrected at least 20% or more. So let's take an example, which is very popular example, where market has corrected about 60%, which is 2008-2009.
Right.
So let's discuss a journey of an investor who would have invested at the peak of the market. And today, in the hindsight, we know that January 2008 was the peak of the market during that market cycle. And then it bottomed out in March 2009. So let's say you are an investor starting a 10,000 rupees SIP, monthly SIP during January 2008 at the peak of the cycle, versus another investor starting SIP at the bottom of that market cycle during March 2009. So till date, the investor who would have started SIP during January 2008 would have invested roughly around, I think, 20 lakh rupees till now. And the investor who would have started in March 2009, because that investor started 14 months later, he or she would have invested, let's say around 1,40,000 lesser than the first investor. The thing is, as we speak today, both the investors have made a reasonable return. The investor who started at the top would have made 14.4% XIR return approximately. And the investor who would have started at the bottom would have made 14.7% XIR till date. So first of all, see, the difference is only 0.3%. Right. But what is more interesting is that the investor who would have started at the top, because that investor started 14 months earlier than the second investor, would have made approximately 11 lakh rupees more.
Okay.
So by investing only 1,40,000 rupees more, by doing 14 installment, 14 higher number of installment as compared to second investor, he would have made 11 lakh rupees more. So on XIR term, you would say, okay, the guy who would have started at the bottom has made 0.3% higher XIR. But when it comes to wealth creation, the guy who started early has made the maximum wealth creation.
So in your view, how does delaying an SIP impact the long-term returns? What happens there?
So take this example only.
Right.
So this guy who started at the peak, okay, but started early, 14 months earlier than the second guy. So by investing only 1,40,000, that investor has made 11 lakh rupees more wealth as compared to the second guy. The question is why this is happening? Because of cost of delay. This is called cost of delay. Because you have delayed your investment by 14 months, the initial 14 installments are not getting the compounding benefit. And you know that the initial investments are the investment which will get the maximum compounding benefit. So by delaying your installment, you are basically losing out the potential compounding benefit on the initial transactions, which are the most precious transaction, most precious installment, which will make you the highest wealth. So yeah, starting early matters.
All right, so as early as possible. Okay, so what would you say to investors who are hesitant to start their SIPs because of market volatility?
See, SIP is such a wonderful tool. It is very simple. It is very transparent. It gives you all the flexibility. If you at some point of time want to stop SIP, that flexibility is there. If you want to make top up on your existing SIP, you can do this thing. If you want to stop it at some point of time, you can stop it. So first of all, SIP is a very wonderful tool, very simple tool, very transparent. So one should not be hesitant. We did this analysis that even if you are the most unluckiest person who end up starting an SIP at the very wrong time, perceived wrong time, but if you stay invested for long term, it doesn't matter. So first of all, you are not the unluckiest person, okay? Even if you are the unluckiest person, you will in the long term make it. I think the most important thing investors need to keep in mind while starting the SIP that they have to run it for long term, because over the long term, you will see a lot of micro cycles and everything will average out, and that is the whole concept of an SIP, that over the long term, you get the benefit of rupee cost averaging.
All right, so markets are volatile by nature and one should start investing as soon as possible through SIPs. Now moving on to your column in Wealth Insight, where you've written about healthcare as a long-term structural theme. So could you share more about why do you believe healthcare in India, it holds such strong long-term potential?
So you see, every now and then you heard about lifestyle diseases, okay, lifestyle diseases, and then our population currently is younger as compared to many of the emerging market or developed market, but our population is also aging, and over the next 10 years, 20 years, our population will also age. So all these factors, that the prevalence of lifestyle diseases, our population will eventually also age, and then healthcare penetration is increasing, awareness is increasing. All these factors make healthcare theme a structural theme in India. So let me define what is structural theme.
Right.
So see, we say that India can grow faster than the world average for at least 2-3 decades, and that's why we call it Amrit Kal. Okay, so India, we strongly believe,
Because of the demographic dividend.
Yeah. So yes, we strongly believe India can grow faster than world average for at least next 2 to 3 decades. Within India, there will be few themes, we call them structural themes, which can grow even faster than GDP growth of India itself. Okay. And we call them structural theme, and healthcare, financials, okay, consumer discretionary, and then you have digital, etc. These are few structural themes which have the potential to grow faster than the GDP growth of India itself. So healthcare is one of the themes, and I gave you a few reasons why we believe over the next at least 10-15 years, healthcare can grow faster than the GDP growth of India.
Okay. Now, healthcare index showed resilience during the market downturns of 2008 and 2020. So what factors allow the healthcare to defend better during challenging times?
So there are few services or products which are discretionary in nature. And then there are few services or products which are absolutely necessary.
Right.
So you see, healthcare is one of the service which is absolutely necessary. So if you are ill or you need to be hospitalized, whether it is a downturn or not, you will any which ways take medicine and you will get hospitalized. So hence, because of the nature of the business itself, it is a necessity. So the impact of economic slowdown is very limited. And we have seen, let's say during 2008 or 2011 or 2020 very recently, that in all of this market crash, you can say, or in market falls, healthcare has given some kind of downside protection as compared to related to the broader market. So also, if you study the long period data, that reflect in long period data also on a 3-year rolling return basis. If you compare healthcare index return versus, let's say, broader market return, Sensex or BSE 500, the correlation is about 0.3 only. So there are years which are very good for the economy. You see a lot of cyclical sectors doing very well. Then there are years which are full of uncertainty. You see relatively healthcare doing very well, and that makes healthcare industry very interesting. That as an investor, healthcare has a very good role in your portfolio because it can act as a diversifier. And over the long term, this sector has the potential to not only provide market participation in terms of return, but even potentially beat market because, as I said, it is a structural theme. It can grow faster than the nominal GDP growth of India.
Right. Now, within healthcare sector also, there are several subsectors. So do you believe, is there any particular subsector that you believe presents significant investment opportunity right now?
So see, you rightly mentioned healthcare is a heterogeneous business. So within pharma, there can be generic pharma, there can be diversified pharma, there will be branded generic pharma. Within hospitalization, you have multi-specialty hospital, you have asset light versus asset heavy hospital. Within pathology, you have radiology, pathology. Okay, likewise, then there's CDMO, etc. So while healthcare or pharma, people say it very casually that okay, you are investing in pharma, but within pharma, two pharma companies are not exactly the same. Then there are pharma companies which are focusing on USA, they are focusing on export. Then there are pharma companies which are focusing on the rest of the world. Some of them are generating bulk of their revenue from India itself. So first of all, healthcare is a heterogeneous sector. We believe that hospital and pathology are early stage in India. Not many hospitals and pathology currently are listed, and we believe over the time, maybe in next 10 years or so, many more hospitals and pathologies will get listed in India, and they we believe provide very good potential to generate a lot of return for the investors.
All right. So like you said, the sector presents huge opportunities to people, but are there any risks that investors should be careful about?
Yeah, so basically it is a theme. When you are investing in any thematic fund, forget about healthcare, it can be IT, it can be banking. So every theme or every sector has certain risk associated only to that particular sector. And yes, investors should be wary about the fact that any thematic fund as compared to a diversified fund will be more volatile. While it can make a reasonable return, if you are investing in a structural theme, it can make very reasonable return over the time. But on a yearly basis, on a quarterly basis, it can be very volatile, and hence it is important that investors consult with their financial advisor. And if you are taking if you are investing in thematic funds, you should not go overboard in any of the theme. And you should be aware that there will be years when this theme will be volatile. Lastly, I'll just mention this thing, like we covered in that article itself, healthcare in particular. So you look at the composition of BSE 500. Healthcare sector's weight in BSE 500 is approximately 6-7%, which I believe is not very meaningful exposure. The only way you can increase your healthcare weight in your portfolio is by investing in some dedicated pharma healthcare fund. So it should be looked at from that perspective, and it can give you very good diversification benefit. As I mentioned, that it has a very low correlation with the broader market because it is a non-discretionary service. So yeah, this is how I see this.
Well, thank you, Manuj. That's all we have for you in this episode. Keep watching this space for more information.